Have you ever felt fried at the end of a long day of Zoom meetings or making decisions? That's cognitive load, and it's a big deal for learning. I'm Stephanie, and I support educators to improve reading outcomes by learning about and implementing the science of reading. I want to tell you about a great new book called Cognitive Load Theory by Greg Ashman. Greg is an educator and researcher in Australia. This book is about the science of learning, which is something you may be interested in hearing more about. And although it's the end of the school year and you might be feeling like you're experiencing a little bit of cognitive overload yourself, the size of this book, it's quite small, and the information contained in it is the perfect little bite-sized chunk for you to enhance your knowledge over the summer so you can come back next school year an even stronger educator. So especially if you are a teacher, a special educator, an instructional coach, any type of administrator, principal, central office administrator like special ed director or curriculum director, or if you're a school psychologist or a speech pathologist, this is a great book for you to check out this summer. So cognitive load theory, the subject of the book, suggests that to learn something new, you have to move that information from working memory to long-term memory. Working memory is what we are attending to right now in the moment, hopefully my voice. It is very limited or constrained. There's only a small amount of information you can focus your cognitive energy or attention on at any one time. Long-term memory is thought to be limitless, unlimited. You can have a great deal of information in your long-term memory. Some people would describe learning as the process of moving information from working memory to long-term memory. And if something hasn't been stored away in long-term memory, we would think you actually haven't learned it. So the book goes into detail about how do we teach in a way that supports students to attend and process information appropriately and effectively in their working memory, and then link that new information to something that's already stored permanently in long-term memory. And then how do we process that information over time? How do we practice that new information so that it really becomes cemented and solidified in long-term memory? So much so that we would think that that information is mastered, that it can be effortlessly retrieved for future use. So that's what cognitive load theory is dealing with. And I think this is especially important for those of us who are trying to teach reading. Now, cognitive load theory applies well beyond reading. It applies to all subject matter in schools. It applies to all grade levels in schools, but it applies well beyond school-based learning. It applies to all human learning, and specifically, the cognitive load theorists would say that it applies to information that is what they call biologically secondary. So I think about that as the sorts of skills and knowledge that we're acquiring through our human experiences and through being taught in school versus something that is biologically primary that's like hardwired for us, like spoken language. Okay, so that's sort of the distinction. So in the area of reading, paying attention to cognitive load theory can really help you be a more effective reading teacher. I want to encourage you to check out the book with its many illustrations, drawings, and examples across the lifespan, across the academic subject areas, across grade levels. Pay attention to those examples and see how they might be able to fit within the work that you are currently doing, especially if you're a classroom teacher, if you are a special educator, if you are an administrator at the school or district level, if you are a school psychologist or speech language therapist, this book will be very beneficial to your work. So if you've read this book, I'd love for you to comment below and let me know what you thought about it. If you have questions about this book or are interested in knowing more about it, also place a comment below and let's talk about it.